Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Richard Carlton here, creator of fmtraining.tv, along with our super awesome FileMaker developers, senior engineers. So we have Christian Olson here today, and we do have others that we need to call in if we need the backup. Hey, Christian, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Richard?
I am very excited. So, real quick, this broadcast, this is the part we have to have our shameless plug. This broadcast is brought to you by fmtraining.tv, where you get the latest, greatest FileMaker video training for a super low price. So if you want to help sponsor or support this channel to make sure that we keep coming back every day to do great training, we definitely recommend that you purchase the complete training bundle or the video only training bundle. Basically, effectively, the difference is if you want an enhanced version of FM Starting Point, our CRM, and you want a full copy of FileMaker Pro, 18 today, and then this coming week you'll get 19 as we ship all that out to everyone. This is the bundle you want here. If you want just the video only bundle, which has all our video courses, we're going to have that as well. So that's how you support the channel. If you would like a coupon for these, if you need to buy these or renew them, send us an email. Once again, to support at rcconsulting.com. We can give you a coupon to get some money off on that. If you want to try the beta, send an email there. Christian, if you want coaching, who do you contact for that?
Reach out to support at rcconsulting.com. If you mention my name, I'll be sure to give you guys a free hour of coaching.
All right. So yeah, so everything, if you want to interact with us, this goes to support. Why is that? Because we have a tech support system that reads those emails that come in into a FileMaker system and then allows us to triage those and assign them to the people they need to go to. Obviously, if you want to talk to me, you need my attention, to say attention, Richard. I see about a quarter of the messages that go through there, and I will respond to some. If you put my name on it, then they will just mark it for me, and I will collect it the next time I come through, which is about twice, 3 times a day. Christian, let's talk about these awesome features in here that were kind of like the smaller things that went on. You want to help with this conversation a little bit? Or are you there snacking on a pizza? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'd love to help with this conversation. I know that earlier we were talking about some of the new functions that are added. There's not a lot in this release, but there's one in particular that is going to save me a lot of time compared to what I've had to do in the past, and that's page count.
I don't know it's a. I'm being persnickety, or if I say, you said the word function, I don't think it's a function. I always mess this up. You got script steps, like for example, if you say an if statement, there's an if script step, and there's also the if function, I think, right? Did I have that right?
This I would define not as a script step. It is a function.
So
if you opened up your data viewer in 19 and you typed get, you have to do that first. Then the second function is.
Do you want to show this? Then you want to do it? Do you want to do that?
So just in case anyone's not familiar with the context that I'm in, because I opened it before, I've opened up Tools. I've gone to Data Viewer. This is by far my favorite tool in FileMaker. Highly recommend, if you're not familiar with it, getting familiarized. And so like Rich was saying, I could open up a script and I could have a go-to layout command. Those are script steps in the script engine, while this is a calculation, the calculation engine. So if I type get and hit return, this will return to me the get functions. And the one that we're looking for here is page. So we had page number previously. And if you've not used this, you could put this on a screen or set it to a variable. And in your report, you could say, I have page 1, I have page 2, what have you. Fantastic. But then your client comes to you and goes, well, Christian, what I really want, I want page 1 of 5. That's what I'm looking for. Or I want page 2 of 10, depending on what is in the report. And there were ways to solve this problem, but now FileMaker's made it a lot easier for us to get page count. And so if you wanted to display what that person was asking for, get page number, put a little slash there, and you could get that. Now, I'm not actually on a report right now, so we're getting 0 of nothing, which makes sense. But this right here is basically where we're looking at, that get page count.
Now,
so it's
yeah, it's also a symbol that goes on the page too, though, right? Isn't it like a symbol on a layout? I think of the way I was reading that.
Yeah, so I haven't actually messed with it yet, but I think that what you might be referring, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we go to a report layout here, I'm going to go to invoices, I'm going to go to print, go into layout mode, and there's actually a spot here to insert things.
Yeah.
So you can do your insert and then you've got things like your page number symbols. So I
then,
haven't used the new feature yet, but I've had to solve this problem in the past.
Can you go back and hit the other symbols for me real quick and see what that is? There's other.
Yeah, sorry.
Insert other.
You haven't hit that?
Yeah, I hit it. I've never done that lately. What happens? Okay. Oh, it's a huge arsenal of stuff. Okay, so then go to page count. Page. Oh, there it is. So hit OK. And then it sticks it.
It went somewhere.
Where the hell did it go?
There it is. There it is.
Oh, okay. So it puts a little.
It goes to.
Yeah. So that's how you put it on a report. So you just put the report. It's automatically gonna. It's. I guess it's kind of a merge variable, or a merge field, but it's not really, right? So it's kind of a page number, right?
Yeah, well, I typically set these in a script and just have variables display, but you can. I have done the page number.
Right.
So
yeah, they go to browse.
Right
yeah, so in the browse, I don't think
we're going to want to go to preview mode.
Yeah, but do browse just for fun. Just do browse because that's educational, right? So browse, and go to the bottom. It doesn't do anything. So you go to preview mode, which is.
I noticed we had a question mark there, so
because it hasn't.
Are
you in 19 or are you in 18? No,
you're in 19. Okay. You have the function in 18.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. It's supposed to display it there. So if it doesn't, is your object too small? That's why it's a question mark.
You know, it might be that we're also. This is our single page report. Let's try this real quick. So I'm going to do a Command C. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go over here to mouse. I'm going to go to invoices. I'm going to go to our multi-page capability.
Yeah.
I'm going to save. I'm going to put that down here. Now, the only thing with the multi-page, you do have to trigger. Oh, look, there's our page number.
Yeah, page number's already there, so we're already doing that. Yeah, so go to browse.
I don't think this is going to work by going to preview mode because we have to trigger this via a script for it to get a proper found count.
Here, and I'm going to go back to the documentation here and see what it says. Where was that page stuff at? Page. Change functions, new functions, change removes features, new functions.
Another thing that maybe this is what Richard's doing now, but when I can't figure out why the function's working, you can go over here, find that function, and actually.
Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Christian. Yeah, I was actually back on the help. They can't see you at the moment.
Okay.
I'm reading the directions. I'm reading the instructions, right? So print the page count, include the page count symbol and layout for pages one. Say inserting that. So you'd have to come down here and read this and tell you if you get a question mark why you get a question mark. Okay. Did it work or not work, or did you not figure that out?
I'm testing right now.
Okay. Yeah. So it's being kind of.
It worked.
It worked on the printout. Okay, let me jump. I'm going to jump back over to you here. Stand by. Here I come.
And that's something I want to mention actually here. So when you're working just in a user interface layout, I want to say that things are fairly straightforward, and that kind of what you see is what you get. Once you get into print layouts, and those of you who have worked with these probably know this, there's multiple areas where things change from what you think you're going to get. So the first one is what I see on a Mac isn't what I'm going to get on a Windows. What I see in browse mode isn't what I'm going to see in preview mode. And preview mode is going to be your closest approximation to what a PDF is going to be. But even when you create a PDF, it will not 100% resemble preview mode all the time. And then to take it one step further, if you actually print the document, what comes out of the printer can differ from it. So it's really important when you're dealing with reports that you ask your end user, are you going to save these as PDF? Are you going to print them? Are you going to do both? And whatever their end document is going to be, you need to go and look at that. Because you might think that your preview mode looks perfect, but what they see doesn't. And here's a great example of that. When I go to print and I look at it in preview mode, I'm going to bring this over here on screen. It's gigantic. I get the page 1 of 2 versus the question mark that we were seeing on the other layout. Now we could go back to this and take a look at it. I would just have to stop the script in process for us to do that.
That's on the Twitch side. So TK, it'll show if you print or create the PDF. Yeah, TK55678 Stormtrooper pointed out what you just found. David says before I went, the way you solved this before is you would navigate to the last page, in preview mode, and then make a note, like in a global field or something, and then that's how you knew. It's a total hack. Yeah. And then, so that's true. That's how we used to solve it. It's much easier now. Tech Freak 23. Maybe the guy's real name is Tech Freak. Your parents should be ashamed of themselves if that's your real name. If you append, multiple PDFs, it will likely give you the different page counts. Yeah, I don't see. So someone was asking, the append PDF, Christian, right? So if I go back.
Yeah, Tech Freak, by the way, is Art. Art's asking if we do the append PDF, the page count might break because you basically are gluing documents together.
Correct. Yeah, I don't.
So I think that's a really good question.
I don't think it'll work for that because it's not taking into account those other pages, right? So, in order for you to know how many pages you'd have on a multi-page PDF, you would actually have to go back to the old method of counting up all the pages you're likely to generate on pass 1, pass 2, pass 3. Like, assuming you could even do that, right? Assuming you could even go and do that analysis. And then you would know that theoretically at the end it would be so many. So kind of, yeah, that's a rough one. Carol from Oakland is there.
It could still be useful. I'm wondering, though, if you did the append PDF and you could quickly get the page count, you could still use that information to possibly set it. But that has been a challenge for me in the past when you do the append PDF, because you have to know what the last page number is before you append them, because it has to be in there when you actually save the PDF. Nathan wants to make sure that we bring up the cliffhanger from yesterday. That's going to be the quick find. Which I'm sure we can go do next. Yeah,
let's just jump to that. Okay, that one's good. So the one we just did is good. And this one out is also great too. So I'm going to go full screen on you, Chris. You want to demo this for us? So for starters, you have to be in layout mode, right?
Yeah, that one was. I was trying to tell the engineers about it. I'm like, why can't I get this to work? So step one is going to layout mode. I'm doing Command L. I always use those keyboard shortcuts. And then I'm going to do Command Option K. And before I do that, I want to show you Command Option L. Oh, excuse me, it's a different one. So never mind. I'm just going to do Command Option K. And I get something that looks a lot like Spotlight coming up. And let's say I need to navigate over to contacts. I'm going to type contacts in, and oh, there's the data entry. And it takes me there. And let's say I need to go back to products. I type in products. I want to go to C, and boom, it takes me there. So this is really neat, and it doesn't open a new window. That was one thing I was kind of curious about. Whereas if I do Command-Shift-L and use the traditional one, I can search for them on here. Sometimes I have a harder time, and it'll open a new window if I use the open. But this is really nice for a developer to quickly jump around, especially kind of going through here or the other one. And I'm wondering if FileMaker might not use this type of feature for other things later on. I don't know, the script workspace or just other things. This seems like it could be quite utilitarian. So this is pretty neat.
Can I ask a question? So who here? I'm looking. I'm actually changing the camera angle here. I'm looking at all of you folks. Which of you there actually have Windows and have any sort of 19? Could you punch that up and see what it looks like? I've not seen it on Windows, so I'd like to know if it looks as good as it does on the Mac on Windows. Hopefully it does. But that basically, Clara stole a kind of a visual capability out of the Apple operating system. And so if they were going to be consistent about it, they would give it to Windows. So hopefully we'll get someone to comment on that.
Nathan Schneider just added a good comment, which I didn't even think of. It makes perfect sense that if you're on Windows, you're going to need to do the Control-Alt-K to pull up that search in layout mode.
Yep. That's a good one. Okay, so what other things that they have that are interesting that we kind of like skimmed over? So the dark mode compatibility, they talked, well, let me start at the top. So let's go through it systematically. So FileMaker, of course, is not called Pro Advanced anymore. So when you do get application version, it's going to return Pro. I mean, this get function works correctly. It just so happens that they changed the name of the product. So I don't know that's really a change per se. Create apps directly in FileMaker Cloud, right? See, and they didn't really talk about this. You see this, you're like, how does that work? And then you run into it by accident, but then it malfunctions in front of 60 people on live TV, which was yesterday's excitement. So we talked about add-ons. This was yesterday's excitement, where it tried to add a file to the cloud, and then it failed horribly and then gave us a useless error message. I did report that to Claris as a bug. JavaScript integration, we talked about that yesterday. Siri shortcuts. So I hate Siri a lot. Largely because it never does what I think it's going to do. My daughter's name is Sarah, so whenever I call for Sarah, Siri starts talking smack in my house because I have 3 iPhones, and she just starts babbling endlessly. And so someone had proposed the idea that they could say, call a script with Siri, but then when I'm driving down the freeway or something, the Siri says, oh, trying to connect the internet. Oh, sorry, stand by. Oh, wait a minute, my bad, 1 second. Oh, sorry, I can't do it for you. And so it generates a conversation, at least in my case, frequently, that results in, sorry, I can't do that right now, right? So that's a technology that, for whatever reason, drives me insane. Christian, do you use Siri a lot? Maybe you're younger than I am. I guess I'm too old to use Siri. Maybe you're okay with it.
I have 2 comments on that. I don't use it a lot, but I did change a little bit in some years past. So number 1, the Hey Siri command you're talking about, I have that turned off because I do not like my phone talking back to me when I'm not asking it. But I actually do use Siri a lot now, and I learned it from some old customers at a previous job. I can't remember anything. So, like, especially working from home right now, I don't see my garbage cans on the way home, so I don't remember garbage night. So I pull Siri out every Tuesday, and I'm like, hey, Siri, set me a reminder to take the trash out. And so I have a number of different things I use for reminders, and I use the timer. But I very, very limitedly use Siri.
Yeah, so that was like this technology called Force Touch. FileMaker supported Force Touch on the iOS, but then Force Touch became 3D Touch, became Haptic Touch, which is kind of... Anyway, so that I'm not even sure that's in there anymore. Because what we're doing is we're going through all the Go videos and we're going, hey, is this all still current? And do we want to update this? So we're updating actually a lot of the Go videos. Those will be kind of ongoing. Go from 18 to 19 is really, really similar. They've added basically Siri shortcuts, which for whatever, and then they added the near field communication, which is the idea is kind of a little bit like the, it's a radio that you can receive ID cards, things like that. I think that's really great. They've had iBeacon support before. We tried to make that work. It sucked. FileMaker tried to make it work. It wasn't FileMaker's problem. It's just iBeacons, you can never quite tell how far you are from them, and it says you're 20 feet away from them, but you're not. But the near field communication is pretty close, Christian, right? Isn't it like 18 inches and things like that? It's supposed to be really close. So the idea is that you wave a card or an ID badge, one of those touchless ID badges, like up to a door, and it unlocks, things like that. FileMaker, the iOS can read those things. One, it's built into some of the hardware, and then FileMaker has the call with Go in 19 to actually listen to those and read those in. So we'll probably have a demo on that at some point. It's definitely an interesting technology. I did near field communications with FileMaker on Mac and Windows at FileMaker 5 was the first time we used it, and that was with Cisco Systems at a big trade show, and we did 30,000 cards. And then back in those days, those cards were $4 a piece, $5 a piece for each card. Now they're just much cheaper. Questions? Dave Snyder. Yeah. So Nathan Snyder says, I have a Sarah and it's trigger Siri too. Yeah. So I guess, Christian, we can turn off the part where it just listens in on you. I mean, on the Mac, I always turn it off. But on the phone, you could turn off so it doesn't auto-activate.
Yeah, it should be Hey Siri somewhere. That's actually where Tech Freak's a lot better.
Okay. All right, great.
And I say that I'm not that age where I feel like I get the new technology, but I'm also old enough that I need help on my phone.
Okay.
My family gives me a very hard time about that.
The machine learning models, interesting, right? This is the idea, like where Watson, IBM Watson, or some of the Amazon machine learning stuff. You can load a model into FileMaker, and FileMaker makes a call. And now, Christian, you're more familiar with the Apple tech on this. Apple has dedicated chips for that? How does that machine learning stuff? Because Apple has a chip set for that, I think, right?
Oh, I would not say that I'm heavily educated on that. I'm not sure this is something new to me. I started reading up on it a little bit after seeing what they can possibly do with some of the machine learning in FileMaker.
Well, the machine learning has been around. Apple has got specific chips or specific processes. It's not generic. I think they have hardware acceleration in some of their newer devices. And so that's why the machine learning, like, for example, here's a picture, and in the picture is a car. Do you identify the car? And then in the videos that we talk about, one of the great application is read the license plate. Because the cop cars, the law enforcement vehicles, the police, sheriff's departments, wherever your local law enforcement is, they can get vehicles now. They have cameras all the way around. So as they're driving through town, it sees everyone's license plates. And what it's doing is just they have a list, a punch list of all the known stolen vehicles. And so every time it sees a license plate number, it can actually compare that against the list of database that's in the car, right? And so as you're driving around, it's reading these numbers and doing that. Well, that's machine learning that someone had set up to do that. So we're saying that kind of stuff you could do with FileMaker, which is pretty cool. That is a great example of machine learning and a practical application. Now, people say, oh, the cops are keeping track of where my car's at. Well, they shouldn't be saving all the data, right? And even if they did, that'd be a huge log file of every car they saw every day, all the time. It would be unmanageable, at least with current technology. But if you had a punch list of, say, 20,000 cars that are been stolen in the United States, or whatever that number is, and having it search, sees the license plate, is it a hit? If it sees a hit, the onboard computer that's in the police car lights up and starts making noise and says you're near a stolen car, right? And it tells you what the license plate is, right? And so that way you can look at the car, decide if you're busy right now, do you have time to deal with this, and then do you engage and deal with that? If you're on a 911 call to save someone's life because of a heart attack or something or whatever, you don't want to stop for a stolen car. So that allows them to prioritize it. That's a really great application. FileMaker, I remember talking to them about machine learning, and they said, oh, we'd love to save money on tech support. And I went, uh-oh. And they said, what we could do is have the machine learning learn the common questions that people have, and then it would just answer the questions, right?
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, and all I was thinking about was that they've been trying this with that stupid robot they have, which went off and started telling people about FileMaker 19 before it ever shipped. Before it shipped, it was already giving people non-disclosure information, which was just epic, right?
The idea to me of trying to replace tech support with a machine, I'm not really a big proponent of, but I do think that machines they make less mistakes than a person does. So when we brought this up in one of our morning meetings, the team got really excited, like, wow, this is really cool. But then we started asking, well, what do we do with it? And, one of our senior engineers was the only one who even had an idea of where it could be used. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I think I was telling you that earlier about the microchips.
Yep. No, keep going. You're good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of our senior engineers works for a chip manufacturer, and they have to look and identify whether or not all of the solders made on this tiny little chip are correct or not correct. And I can only imagine that people can only do so good of a job at that. And so we're wondering if you could train this machine by showing it thousands and thousands of the chips correct, and maybe some of the chips with incorrect solders, if at the end of production you couldn't just go under some sort of camera and have FileMaker trained to actually look for deficiencies or defects in the chip. To me, that would be a great use of the technology, but I'm still trying to figure out for myself, where else could this be used? It seems really cool, but kind of like the add-ons, where is the use case? I think is still kind of being invented.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Mike Hunt was over here on the YouTube side of things. He's under Austin Powers 011. And so he says that the Amiibo toys, AMIIBO toys, you can use them to test the NFC. So apparently they emit a compatible NFC, which is interesting. So I think if the iPhone can read it or the Mac can read it, I'm thinking about the NFC is Go only. I'm confusing machine learning and NFC conversation. They're really the two, to me, relevant pieces of Go that are improvements, right? Like I said, series shortcuts, yeah. So I try to stay away from that as far as I can. So there were some other little miscellaneous things that went on. They affected some Git functions in here for WebDirect, because WebDirect now supports card style windows and stuff. So they made some changes on some of the Git functions of how you can detect window sizes, things like that. Once again, they start to work Git window left, window style, Git top. Those all actually work with WebDirect. So that's pretty neat. Once again, a reminder for those of you who didn't hear this yesterday, if you build a FileMaker server, 19 server, startup restoration, page level locking or startup restoration, which we call PLL, SIR, page level locking, PLL, and then SIR, startup restoration, is off by default, which is a great thing. We had a customer, number of customers who've had problems with this, and they don't. A lot of people, when you build a FileMaker server, don't realize that you really need to kind of configure what it does. It will work out of the box, but it makes a backup once a day if you're lucky. And it turns on or has turned on settings before that are not great. And so you want to, like the amount of cache it can have, things like that. There's settings that you could do that make it work better, more reliably, and basically make backups. Because what's the number one rule with backups and servers, Christian? Whatever, if you have a crash, what do you do?
You go back to the last backup that you have?
Yeah, always. And so we have customers who kind of refuse to do that. So we had an interaction with a kind of a customer, kind of a minimal customer talking to yesterday, and they got really aggravated when we really got in their face and said, hey, they keep using crash files, and the day is going to come when you open you try to open it, and it's going to say, sorry, it's not going to open. Contact Claris tech support to see if they can salvage the file for you. And that's
it's a difficult conversation I've had to have with several customers because getting a server set up, getting it set up properly is expensive, and I appreciate that because a lot of my customers are kind of like mom and pop shops. But the way that I'll try to phrase it to them is that is really expensive. So you have to keep in mind how much your file costs. Like how much money did you pay someone to build it? How much have you invested into that? And if that to them is not worth as much as what it costs to protect the integrity of the file means, but sometimes saving money costs you a lot of money in the long run.
Well, yeah, in this case, this customer has 100+ employees and it's their mission critical system. So I just, it's just a thing. So anyway, so other questions or comments coming in here. Awesome. So, so the idea today is just to open Q&A. So if you have questions about this, Nathan Schneider, TK55678, Elzo, how's the weather, Elzo? I don't see that. I got the weather report from you. Michael, something about 1.5 inches. And so I'm not sure what 1.5 inches is referencing, randomly out of the blue like that. Nathan Schneider says, FileMaker keeps sending me the ETS version of the software. So ETS is basically FileMaker's testing process program. If you're a developer and you're paying FileMaker to be a developer, which we pay every year, actually a lot of money. And so they say, well, then you can help us test the software, but we need you to report bugs, which is fine. So if you come up under here, you say about this app, what you'll do is you'll see the build number. And so the build number, the last build number we had before it shipped was 116. So 116 has been kind of baked for a little while. In fact, you can see here it's a month old already. And obviously they're working on fixing some of those add-ons. We talked about the add-ons were missing, things like that. Plus probably a bunch of other bugs. It'll be interesting to see how this thing manages the update because once again, think about this from your end customer perspective. I don't want to turn a new version of software loose with the customer until I have a level of confidence with it, right? For example, I don't have any customers yet deliberately using 19.3 yet just because I want to let it settle, see how it goes, blah, blah, blah. But if they install 19 client, then is it going to forcibly give them updates over the next several months, right? Or if it just does a shiny box thing, like I have an end user who doesn't know anything and says, hey, there's a new version here. Would you like to upgrade it? And people always go, yeah, great idea, right? And so what does that mean? I don't know. It's a new territory. Elzo says it's 75 degrees Fahrenheit in San Paulo. It's about pretty nice temperature there. I like that. Christian, other thoughts here on this?
Off the top of my head, no. There is the one thing I think I showed you. It's not necessarily a new feature, but in the tools menu where you can find some training resources, and including our training videos, actually. I don't know if that's something you'd want to show off or not.
Really? Where is that at? If I go under, where do I see that at?
So open up 19.
I'm there.
And underneath the tools dropdown.
Okay.
There is a. Whoops,
oh, I've never seen that.
Tools Marketplace.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know you've been real busy. I think I'd sent a picture a while ago. So there's some cool developer tools in here. Ones that we're actually quite familiar with, but others I haven't seen. But if they're mixed with ones that I like, I'm assuming there's some good ones to investigate.
Yeah. Yeah. So I automatically like any of the 360works products. I think those folks are fantastic. Base elements is another. You can't live without that. So there's things you can't live without. I can't live without 360. I can't live without base elements, right? FM bench, I think is the, I think that's 24U. Is that 24U? Yeah, 24U. That's Hansa. And it allows you to like really critique your scripts and figure out where the speeds and things like that are, if you're interested in that. By the way, I have a mission critical app shared by a single FMP license. I've had many apps shared by. So you're using, so Andre is saying that he's sharing, and this is a different Andre, I think, sharing many mission critical apps with peer-to-peer sharing. Yeah, so I mean, Andre, we're talking file sharing, because file sharing is a really dangerous way of sharing your FileMaker files. Obviously, you've never been burned. So if someone takes like for example, a common thing is, hey, we're gonna have a FileMaker file. Let's stick it up on Dropbox, and then 5 people are sharing Dropbox, then 5 people open that file. Okay, that results at some point thereafter in the file being corrupted. Okay, because what the FileMaker server does is it makes sure that it protects the data integrity of the file. The data integrity is protected. And so as people come in, they get the data they want. If they try to write data, the FileMaker server makes sure that that data is correct and it's written correctly to one place. But if you have 5 people writing their own file and then Dropbox is trying to sync them in parallel, that'll work for a while. You'll lose data that way, but it'll work without corrupting. But at some point, you'll get a data corruption that'll go on. So I know people really love to use the peer-to-peer sharing in FileMaker. I've had some serious adults who I seriously respect, who have great vertical market products come to me, and hopefully, if they're watching, they're going to probably know who I'm talking about. And they start swearing up and down how great peer-to-peer sharing is, and every time they'd say it, I wanted to reach to the phone or the Zoom or GoToMeeting and slap them in the face for this is a company who's put millions, with an S, millions, 7 figures into billing solutions. Their customers have paid them millions, and they can't get off their butts to write a check to pay for server. If you have data that's important, you must be backed up. The only way to back it up is with either FileMaker Server or FileMaker Cloud. If you want to do it as cheaply as possible, do it with FileMaker Server. If you want to offload the whole thing to Claris and have them do it for you, then you buy their new cloud, basically the current cloud products on their website. That's cloud version 2. And they abstract that for you. But I mean, I have people who will spend tons of time and then they will cheap out on not spending the last, $800 or whatever, buying a volume license and doing it that way. I just, it terrifies me, because listen, we had Art, you were here, you had a customer who refused to do this. They lost, what did they lose, Art? They lost months and months and months of work. And so we're coaching them, we're helping them, and we're remoted onto their machine, and they're we never have the file. It's never on our server. We never actually have it. We remote in their machine. We're helping them work on it. That customer is responsible for taking care of the file. Well, he runs it locally on his computer. He never backs his computer up. He's not using FileMaker Server. There are no backups. He loses his hard drive one day. He loses months and months, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars he's lost. Where basically at about $1,300 a year, he would be completely and utterly protected with a 5-pack. That's with 5 users and an Amazon server. And so, so I don't know what to say. It's demoralizing, because the guy was pissed, and he wasn't really pissed at us. I'm not sure who was pissed with Art. Do you know who? I mean, it's just a really ugly situation, and we couldn't do anything about it because, we never had the file. It's up to him to take care of it. We told him, hey, you want to back this up, put it on a server? Oh, no, it's all good. I got it taken care of. Not, right? So anyway, it scares me when people do this. Andre, I mean, I understand. I'm not telling you to go spend money you don't have. And if we're all broke, or if you're someplace, like I was talking to some guys in India, and I know the hourly rates there, or the economics are a little bit different than they are in the United States. And so FileMaker Server relatively is a lot more expensive. I get that, right? But I mean, you got to have backups. You just have to have backups, and you can't, otherwise, what are you doing? Because it has no value, right? I don't know what to tell you guys. Wolf Paw. So Proficient is hard to define. Can you? From scratch with no knowledge, how long would it take to learn FileMaker and become a proficient developer? That's a good question. You want to take a swing at this, or I can? Yeah, there's about a 2-minute delay out there, folks. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, Christian, I mean, how long do you think it takes someone to be a senior developer, right? Or a start with a mid-level.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw a couple things out. I'll start by saying I've heard you say senior level engineers can take about 7 years. I think I heard you say that one time. I know that for myself, the first year was very much wandering around in the dark. The videos that we had were very helpful. Once I had much closer contact to a team, I think that my skill set greatly improved. So somewhere between, I want to say, year 2 and 4 is when I started feeling like each year my skill set, I want to say, doubled. Right. So though I built some things 3 years ago that were good and my customers liked, I would say that I'm more than 4 times the skill there. So I think it's taken me about 4 years to get to a really good level.
Yeah, but you're also pretty sharp, Christian.
And I still have a lot to learn.
Well, and you're, like I said, pretty sharp. So 7 years to be what I would consider a senior certified developer. If people are super sharp, super technical, then they do it in less time. Christian just said, if I have a team to work with, it makes it better. Most people don't have a team. If you want to cut the corner on that, once again, you can get wherever you want to go faster if you spend more money to get there. So you can.
I would just going to jump in and shamelessly plug. I'd recommend to Michael, if that's something he's looking to do, start with the training, and as he starts to understand the things he doesn't know, that's where a coach can be really helpful. You know, like what Nick showed, I figured out a lot of those things after wandering around in the dark for years and coming across them. But some of the customers I'm getting who have less experience, I'm able to save them years of wandering in the dark by showing them what I figured out in that time.
Okay. Yeah, so the coaching program is really great, and you can get it for about $75 an hour, thereabouts. So it's pretty inexpensive, but it's more money than the training, but less money than just hiring someone to do it for you. Bunny asked an interesting question that's not off topic. I would really love her to be around tomorrow. We could cover more basic stuff, but she asked a question on YouTube. Can a program be made in FileMaker that can track progress on a project? Something like Microsoft Project. I haven't used Microsoft Project in probably 20 years, so I don't even remember what it looks like. But yes, you can do pretty much everything you want with the FileMaker platform. There are certain high-end scalability limits, like having a single solution and having 5,000 people work on that shared solution at one time. Not something it does. It works. You build a solution. A single server on the high end can handle about 300 to 500 people simultaneously. So there are practical limits to what it can do. Of course, most people have their own version of the solution, right? So if you built something for one person, person 2, person 3, each company or team has their own server. So you never really run into that number like that for the most part. All right, questions, other questions, right? We're kind of in to the end of the hour here. I want to make sure we answer as many questions as possible. And then it kind of, yep. You got it there. And so once again, if you want to know about the new features in FileMaker Pro, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to go up under, go to the help. So I'll do it one more time. You're in FileMaker Pro. You're going to go to help, down to FileMaker Pro Help, the top one. And then it'll pop up. And then the top first option box right here is new features, and you can go through all these. So this is basically everything we've been talking about for the last 3 days or so. I appreciate everyone. We'll catch you, well, I'd say next week, but tomorrow, right? So there you go.
guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.